Hey guys, welcome to the Perfectly Wasted podcast. I'm the host DullOxide. Today's episode 23 on Anime Talk. You can find all my previous episodes on the Drinking Wisemen YouTube channel, as well as my bi-weekly podcast, Brew the Truth. All my day-to-day photos on my Instagram at DullOxide. So, I wanted to talk about some of the animes that I've recently completed watching. I only watch animes after they've fully run, so unless it's like a really long-running anime that's really good, like One Piece or Naruto, I probably haven't started watching it unless it's finished. I did recently finish watching Naruto, and I was kind of disappointed in that last arc. It wasn't that great, in my opinion. Additionally, I do pretty much about once every few months catch up again on One Piece, just because I like to binge watch things and just like catch up. But I've been seeing a lot of spoilers recently, so I decided it was time to start catching up again. Unfortunately, the internet's terrible with spoilers. So first off, let's go ahead and we'll start. I'm going to use most of the American translations for these because it's just easier. Interviews with Monster Girls. This was actually a really kind of like funny, cute type anime that I wasn't really expecting to be as good as it was. I enjoyed it pretty much all the way through. Of course, it's kind of harem-ish, you know. Obviously, you can see inside of the photo, it's one guy and 5 girls who are called demi-chans. Basically, inside of the world, there are monsters, and these monsters are being integrated into everyday society. And this is a story essentially of 4 of them that have been integrated into society. 3 of them are high school students, and 1 of them is a teacher. And it's pretty funny and pretty interesting. Obviously, they've got, you know, inside of the photo there, you can see a Dullahan. One of them is a snow woman, another one's a vampire, and another one's a succubus. And I think that they're kind of alluding that there may be more, but they haven't really gotten into it, and I wouldn't doubt that we see a second season of it because it was a pretty good anime and the story was pretty consistent. So it was more like a kind of like a supernatural slice of life type anime, and it was quite enjoyable. So if you like supernatural stuff, or if you just like slice of life, you'll probably like this. I did say it's somewhat harem. You know, all of them kind of have like a crush on the sensei there, but that's kind of just because he's a good guy, and you know he's kind of weird. He likes to study. He wants to study and know more about monsters. So it's kind of like a quirky, fun type anime, and I definitely would recommend checking it out. Now, another one that I just recently finished watching was Urara Meirocho, and this is kind of like a whole-on like magical girl type anime, sort of. Mostly it's kind of around fortune telling, essentially, like different methods in which that they can tell the future, essentially. And it starts out that you find these 4 girls, and all of them are in training to try and become a Urara, and it's kind of like, it's kind of not that great. Like, the anime could definitely have been better, but it appears that men didn't have like any magical powers at all inside of this anime, and I don't think that there was any notable male character that they ever showed, which is okay. But for the most part, it's kind of like girls acting like girls, like younger girls, and they're trying to learn their craft, and they kind of are like rivals against each other, trying to be as good as they can be. They all have different specialties in the magic that they're trying to train in. I feel like maybe the story needed a little bit more. You know, it wasn't super great, but I feel like if they come out with a second season, it might get better. A lot of the stuff that they got into is kind of like these ridiculous situations, or situations that shouldn't have happened, and it's mainly because of the white-haired character that's here. Her history is kind of like a mystery to everyone, so we don't really know exactly why she's so important, but she's definitely supposed to be like the main character as far as the series goes. So if it goes on to a second season, which I'm not sure if it will, but if it does, then I'm sure we're going to find out more about it, because towards the middle and towards the end, where they were supposed to do these things, they made it slightly more interesting. I kind of would say that this one's like, if you're into magical girl cutesy type animes, you might want to check it out. It's kind of silly. The plot is not super solid, but it's not terrible. All right, now, this one I didn't know what to expect from. So this is ACCA, which is the 13th Territory Inspection Department, and when I first saw it, it kind of the art kind of threw me off. It's kind of got like this like Western style art to it that reminds me of Kaiji, but not like as strong. The lines weren't as strong, and not all the characters have like a weird drawing style to them, and not all the characters are drawn like super harsh Western. So it was really good actually. And you would think it'd be boring because, as I said, it's the 13th Territory Inspection Department, and basically it's all about the main character, the blonde here, doing inspections, and it's kind of got a little bit of a comedic aspect, but it's actually a pretty serious anime. And seeing the plot unfold while you're watching it, it was actually really interesting. And so you get to watch and enjoy while you kind of learn this story that continuously is evolving around. And I think towards the middle of the series, you kind of expect it to end a certain way, and then it just surprises you every single episode with new things that are happening, different little twists. And I'd be really happy actually if they did do a second season of this, because I felt like they still could. Honestly, just in one season, I felt like it was really well done. The story was really well told, and they definitely don't have to do a second season. It could easily be wrapped up inside of the one season, but I liked the characters that were in it. I liked the story that was there, so I wouldn't be surprised if they came back with a second season, just because it ends up being like a very popular anime. So this is one I would definitely recommend. It's obviously slightly different than your traditional like slice of life type animes and things like this. It's its own storyline. They're not in Japan, so there's a lot going on, but it's a really cool story. I'd say check it out. All right, so another one that I also finished recently was Gabriel Dropout, and this was actually better than I thought it was going to be. When I was watching the intro, I thought it was going to be like 100% magical girl type shit, and I'm not like the biggest fan of magical girl shit, but it actually isn't. So essentially what it is that after they graduate from their, I guess it would be like their angel school or their devil school, angels and devils start going to high school on the human world. And so they're supposed to, do good deeds or bad deeds, and they get monetary values depending on like if they're doing a good job doing good deeds or doing a good job doing bad deeds and so forth. It's really funny. It's a good comedy. It kind of is, again, another like slice of life type comedy and supernatural story in the aspect that it's devils and angels, and it was pretty entertaining. The reason it's called Gabriel Dropout is the main character, the blonde, is Gabriel the angel, and basically what happens is like she starts coming in onto Earth, and essentially she gets kind of hooked on MMOs and she just turns into like a piece of crap gamer basically. And so it's pretty interesting and entertaining to watch, and I wouldn't mind seeing a second season of it with a couple more angels and devils maybe to make it a little bit more interesting. Most of the characters were all female in this. There were a couple of male characters, but I felt like I'd like to have seen some male devils and male angels that came down, because everyone that we always saw was female that came down to Earth. So it'd be really interesting to see if maybe they put like a new spin on that. And also the characters, the angels and the devils, are both terribly bad at their jobs. So it's just kind of funny to see it play out and see what's going to happen. They might not do a second season, but I feel like with this type of anime, it'll probably be popular, even though the story wasn't extremely solid. So more than likely, we will see a second season of it. So I'd say go ahead and check it out if you're into that kind of thing. It's pretty silly. So if you like to watch a comedy every now and again, like a lighthearted comedy, this is pretty much right there. Then also we have KonoSuba, which is on its second season now, and that's KonoSuba, God's Blessing on This Wonderful World. Now, if you don't know the basic premise of this is kind of similar to a lot of other animes that have been coming out recently, where you have kind of like an RPG kind of feel to it. So essentially, a guy gets his wish granted, and his wish is that he wants to go and be reborn essentially inside of like a fairy tale world. And so he's given the choice of one item that he could bring with him, any one item, and he chooses the goddess that's granting his wish. There's a lot of different aspects of it that are tremendously ridiculous, basically. And it's definitely a comedy, so it's like a fantasy comedy, and the main character kind of just rolls with the punches, and most of the characters are very likable. It was pretty entertaining. Some things were a little bit too ridiculous, but it wasn't so ridiculous that it wasn't good. So if you watch season 1 and like season 1, you'll definitely like season 2. If you haven't seen either season, then if you like watching these kind of like silly animes that have to do with like fantasy worlds and things like this, then it's probably right up your alley. I definitely check it out. Out of the ones that I've just listed here, the ones that I would watch first would probably be the ACCA anime and Interviews with the Monster Girls. Those are definitely the top out of these animes that I watch that I enjoyed the most. And if you have any suggestions for me for what I should be checking out that maybe just finished in this last season, please do comment and let me know and share. Please like, subscribe, and share these episodes. Thanks again for joining us. That was 10 minutes perfectly wasted.